All right, so I'll do a quick little introduction here. I'm going to use Zoom to record today. Welcome to our final presentation for the winter 2019 session. The GRCC Online Hybrid Certification course. And today we're just going to walk through a tour of a couple templates. And I will take some notes, but I will not like put you on the spot or critique you while you're doing that, but instead later we'll go through and look at your template and take our notes and kind of give you feedback on it. Give you a grade, and then after that indicate you're certified, and then we report that to the Center for Teaching Excellence, which is also for people who might watch this recording later. And then in some cases, like if you're taking this because you want to be eligible to teach an online course, or maybe developing an online course, somebody will ask you, have you completed the certification? And so you ever want to contact the Center for Teaching Excellence if there's any question about that. But you can also, when they put it, they'll put it on your professional development transcript, and then you can always go in and make a copy of that and print it out if you want to show it to somebody. So with that, I'm going to log out here, and then let whoever wants to come up. When you come up, just say who you are and go.
Great, thanks. My name is Christy Kozub, K-O-Z-U-B. And I teach interpersonal and public communication courses here at GRCC, and I'm an advisor as well. I'm excited to learn, and I have learned quite a bit about teaching online and what it means to create an online course. I do use Blackboard quite often, so it was great to learn about some more tools and teaching philosophies in terms of teaching online. So I'm going to share with you my template. This course was specifically, designed to teach interpersonal communication online, so COM 135. And I have created my welcome announcement with a picture, just to visually kind of capture. In the future, I would like to learn more about the Zoom, the video cast, and to host a welcome video of myself. Being an interpersonal class, I want to do more videos just to incorporate myself, some FaceTime, and perhaps some chatting material as well. So there's possible improvements, but this is a great start, and I really appreciate the guidance our instructors have given us. So this is our welcome announcement. Welcome. I give a bio of myself here, just kind of who I am and what I enjoy doing. I give a preview, kind of an introduction to what the orientation covers, and then of course a link to the orientation. So if you click on the course link, it brings you to the orientation. I would do a review check marks here in the future, but it lists all the important things I want students to know walking into the classroom. The first would be the syllabus and schedule. I separated them. I just thought that would be easier. They are accessible and they can be downloaded with using Word. So if you click here, I used the college learning outcomes for this class. So I have incorporated those on my syllabus and as well in my template for my schedule. So the one thing that I point out would be this grading procedure has changed over the last 6 weeks. So I have distributed points differently, just according to just thinking about the point value, the student interaction, the assessment tools Blackboard offers. So I have revised kind of my structure in terms of where do the points go and how that's going to be allocated. So that's something that changed throughout the 6 weeks. There's a week-by-week schedule as well. Students can click on that and see the headlines and what will be incorporated. As noted in the points, the bullet points here, I have listed the student outcomes and the learning outcomes for each week. I went back to my syllabus and I went back to the chapter. I looked at what our learning outcomes for the class would be and what we would cover in that particular week. So I made sure that my assignments matched the learning outcomes and the content that we were going to be covering. So this is the week by week outline for students, and it lists the dates and so forth. Every week I list the topic and then the bullet points for the learning outcomes so that students can know, hey, what should I be doing by the end of this week? So very specific in terms of skill building and knowledge of content. So after that, that is my schedule and syllabus under my orientation. Assignments. I go to the assignments. I want to show the students what the assignment tab looks like. So this is where the orientation is in week 1, and then as we did a couple weeks ago, listed every week under the assignments folder. So I did put included spring break week. I want to put that, and then when the final exam was. So each folder will hold the week worth of content and material and assignments. So under assignments, that's the week by week. Discussion board. Here's our class discussion board. I ask them to respond to the chatty or quiet topic starter just to kind of get students engaged in the orientation. It's not graded, but I did put a chat here, chatty or not to chat. So just something to reply to get something started. Perhaps I might change that after thinking about it, but I just wanted something to kind of open things up with the students. So that's the discussion board found on the orientation. Helpful links and technology expectation. These are course links to the resources. So these are going to be also found under resources, but if you double click, they are pulled up here as well. These are accessible and helpful links that I thought that students might need during the semester. So tutoring, help desk, counseling, financial aid, disability support are just some things that I feel that students commonly need. So good. Then going back to my orientation folder, this is moving down from the discussion board, the helpful phone numbers, technology and expectations. So this is a part where I just talk to the students about expectations and technology requirements. This is something that I hope students would read. Perhaps I might do a mini quiz or discussion question about these, but this is something that's not necessarily in the syllabus. So this could be just some questions they may have, or just some expectations that you need to be familiar with Blackboard about when the week starts and ends. So I tried to make this language similar or the same throughout my class in terms of saying midnight on Monday morning and then ending on Sunday at 11:59. So I also indicate, well, your activities and journals and everything are due before that 11:59 deadline on Sunday. So I just list some expectations to do your best. I do highlight that I will be available on the weekends. However, after 6 p.m., again, just kind of a boundary for students. If they're emailing me late at night, I may not get back to them until maybe the next following day. So just some expectations again. I do check my email. Please feel free to contact me with questions, just to create that openness. So I would think that with a video walking through these expectations may help students so they could also see me, hear me, and go through instead of just reading the content. But this content is available on the orientation that I wanted students to know. So after technology and expectations, I have an introductions. So I created a blog to introduce, some similar to what we did in this class, just to kind of get things going. And I posted a hello for myself. I told a little bit more personal information about me, my background, my teaching background, and also what I like to do in my spare time. So, okay, so that is my orientation. I like the colors, however, after reading, again, accessibility, I tried to, this might be a little, not be able to, for a screen reader, this might be in question, but I really tried to use bold colors so that screen readers could read those items. So that is my announcement page, and this is my welcome again. Back to announcements, this is the first page that students are linked to. So, this is my welcome, and then I did just create a week 1 announcement today. I just said, well, I'm gonna post a week 1 announcement. It is found on under my assignments tab, so there's a couple ways to get to this. Week 1 right here would be a course link. Click it, and here's my introduction to course 1. Again, listing the dates and an introduction, so students know where and what to expect. Again, this course, or excuse me, this week can be found under assignments and week 1. Yeah. So communication is the key. Yes, it's true. I think that just using some pictures and graphics just kind of brings students in, offers it to be a little bit more lighter and fun to, instead of just text. Again, with video, I would love to do some introduction to the course content for the week, review what we learned and how it's connected to the next week. So communication is really a blended subject area, so it's really important for students to remember and make those connections because what we learn builds upon one another. And they're very abstract and personal. So those students that become self-aware about their own communication, and it might be helpful to remember, oh yes, I remember about what we learned last time. This is what we're going to learn this week. So I list a preview of what we will do. So 1 through 6, these are all the items for 1 week. And then they follow after the introduction. So read chapter 1 and review PowerPoints, identify and apply IPC as communication, interpersonal communication models. I perhaps should list that out as I did here for EMC as electronically mediated communication. Demonstrate being other-oriented, complete as self-assessment, and watch a video. Then report your findings on the discussion board, complete chapter quiz, and then your journal, the journal. This is the first read chapter quiz PowerPoint review. Again, this is a PowerPoint that I've uploaded. PowerPoint that is accessible. I used a PowerPoint that I've used in classes. I've hidden some, this is for my presentations that I've done in my in-class classes. So I could uncheck these if when I teach this live. But this also offers my notes down here. Again, these are my personal notes when I lecture in class. But I think this is good for the students that want those notes, the notes page for the PowerPoint. And so this is the PowerPoint presentation for Chapter 1. Clicking here we go. Clicking the book should bring us to the sign-in page. There we go. So sign-in page, we can sign into our e-text and begin reading Chapter 1. This is a new e-text for me as well. It has a lot of cool activities and videos and chapter quizzes within the e-text. So I was able to find out some more information from the publisher, but for now, I've been able to link the e-text to our Blackboard site. So here's Chapter 1, this is what the textbook looks like, the PowerPoints are right there. And then let's discuss it. Chapter 1, here's 3 discussions for Chapter 1. I need to reorder this, but this is Chapter 1 that I expect them to reply to. Think of a recent communication exchange you've had. So again, using the asynchronous kind of model, let's think of, students can think about, okay, what's a recent communication interaction I've had? Which is good. And they can read the textbook, they can look back at some of the concepts and models, and then reply. That is the first for chapter 1 in terms of discussion. Once they've completed this, I have enabled the review check mark boxes here, which I really liked. If I enter the student preview, it does show, oh, I lost myself. Big one. It shows the marked reviewed, so students can keep track of their marked reviewed, which I appreciated as I took this class, so I incorporated that in my class as well. All right, week 1, here we go, back to week 1. Discussion, after the discussion, other oriented situations. So I just linked that again to the discussion boards, and being other oriented is the next discussion board to participate in. Again, this is to have students think about how they would react to these situations. So these situations could be, I offer 4, so it's a common situation, and then they could react. And what I like about this is students could react in many different ways that are appropriate. So I think this is neat to offer the same kind of scenario and then have them talk about and think about how they would react being other oriented, thinking about the other person. And then offering a personal example about when you were someone else's other oriented. Because again, thinking about, what happens in a day of a student, I think this offers, learning from the learners. So learning from each other in this discussion. So there's that discussion, being other oriented. The next, number 4, is a 2-part. So this has an EMC worksheet, which is electronically mediated communication worksheet, and a discussion. So they go hand in hand. I did note that in the introduction here. Perhaps on my video I could highlight that those go together. But this worksheet is for students to have their own self-assessment, which is kind of just a handout that I give students in my class as well, and have students label yes or no, or is it polite or it's not impolite, and there's some questions here too. Again, this is for them to reflect on their own behavior and then possibly bring it back to the discussion table. So after they've completed this worksheet, they continue to this EMC discussion. So I've found that NBC Learn has some great mashup tools. So I like using the mashup tool to bring just short 2-minute clips about communication and what our topics are. So this is about what is our constant technology doing to our relationships. So again, a 2-3 minute clip, you can click the video right here. And then I indicate using the EMC worksheet, what does your text say, and the video, join the EMC discussion. So after they watch this, then join the discussion using these things that they have taken in. So again, another way to reach students. Clicking the EMC discussion, and perhaps I should relabel this EMC discussion, but this is where they will communicate and kind of talk about the video and the worksheet and their own conclusions about using their devices. I did say reply to this post before replying to a classmate's response, be respectful and descriptive. I find that some students have strong feelings about their devices and what they think of that. So I think it's good though. I think it's good for them to talk about that. Okay, so going back to week 1. All right, going back to week 1. Finally, the chapter quiz. So the chapter quiz, I was able to find a test bank from the publisher, from the e-text, and I was able to find a test bank that is compatible with Blackboard, which was really cool. So I was able to learn about that and import 10 questions for my quiz from chapter 1. So I actually did that last week, and I was able to download some questions that relate to chapter 1, 10 questions, 2 points each, and then it will be compiled over into the grade book. Yep. But yes, we want to leave. So there's the quiz. So after the quiz, the journal, they can do the journal or the quiz, but I just put the journal on the last thing to do to review. After the quiz is the journal. So again, journals have been set up. They are not set up for every single week, but most weeks they will have a journal. And create journal entry would be for them, do a title, and they can browse their computer to enter their journal entry. I do have a typed written up journal topic ideas. They correlate with the chapter. So if a student is, there's a couple different options for journals. The e-text also offers journal ideas. So that is, my friends, the first week. So under the assignments, again, all up to week 15, final exam. Journals is linked here. The journals, journal number 1 is there. Discussions, I have listed a parking lot. So the parking lot description, post questions about assignments or the class here. So just trying to help everybody. If you have a question, maybe somebody else could help you out. So I like having a parking lot. Chatty or quiet, that was that initial orientation discussion. And here's the week 1 discussions. I did type down all the way through the discussion boards to week 14. Week 9 is an empathy project that we would do, and so that's going to be a discussion surrounding a project. Quizzes, I was able to do the quizzes from chapter 1. Resources, so I was able to incorporate the technology and expectations, helpful phone numbers for students. Again, they can find those here. Our textbook, you click the IPC textbook, you can sign right in here. So that is a web link right there for our textbook. So far for resources, that's what I have. Excuse me. Syllabus and schedule, again. Instructor, there I am. And then office hours, I just put that I could, after reading our textbook, I about offering our number, I'm going to stick with the email. And then if if we need to discuss something one-on-one with a conversation, we will. And there we go. That will do it.
Great. Thank you.
Questions? Great. Well, thank you very much for your attention.
You're good. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything before I go up, or?
No, you're good.
Go
That's
up?
all I can ask.
All right. And
Show us what you got.
it'll continue to record and all that?
Yep.
All right. Yours is very in-depth. Nice job. I'm thinking, wow, there's not that much content in mine. So hopefully mine's still good. Like I'm adding stuff as you're talking about. I better put that in mine too.
Well, that's one of the benefits of doing this presentation, seeing each other's presentation.
It really is, and it shows too, like what other classes are like, because I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's great.
anyway, let's do this.
I'm sure you're good. I'm sure you're good.
Wait till you see it. And we can talk about all of that. All right. Good to go? All right, so excuse me. My name is Patrick Kremensky. This is the online Shakespeare course that I've created for this class. This is based on a class that I'm teaching right now. It's a pretty basic setup, I think, as compared to yours. There's far less content here, and I think part of that, I guess I'll defend myself, is part of that is just due to the nature of the kind of course that I'm doing. That's more, hopefully, that's based largely around student interaction and discussion. But I like look at it. So anyway, I'm stealing a lot of it.
Oh, good.
And so when students arrive at my page, this is what they're going to see. They're going to see this announcement for welcome and orientation early on. And it simply lets them know that they're in the right place, hopefully, and asks them to please, before they get started, to look at the orientation document that is attached here. Now, I've got orientation in a couple of places. I've got it here under announcements. I also have a separate tab for it up underneath the menu bar on the left, and they actually all point to the same place. But let's click on this and see what happens here. So the first thing that they're going to see here is just the orientation document that I have, and this is screen reader friendly, so anybody who is coming into my class, regardless of their needs, should be able to access this. And all this does is it just tells them what they need to know about a typical week. It's not the syllabus, it's not the schedule, it's just one other document. And in a typical class, when I've taught online before, I've also done this document as part of my first recording for the week. I do audio lectures. We'll look at one of those today too. But it tells them what a typical week is, what they should be looking at, where they should be looking, those kinds of things, and then technology requirements. I don't think there's anything new here. The biggest thing that I have a lot of students ask me about is this last piece that I put in, like, what if the entire system goes down? Which almost never happens, but I like to let them know that, you're gonna be okay. If the entire GRCC system goes down, we will come up with a solution for your needs. So it's there, I address it, it makes people feel better. It's never happened. I've never needed to figure that out. One thing that this announcement really doesn't do well, as I was clicking through it this morning, is that there is that separate tab for orientation, and this doesn't really, it tells them to look there, but the document's there. The problem is, for me, there's some other information under there. There's my, the orientation document that we just looked at is there, but the introductions forum is there as well. So that announcement needs to do a better job of pointing also to the introductions forum. The introductions forum, very typical. I introduced myself there. Students in the past, they do a really good job of introducing themselves. They reply to each other, those kinds of things. And it's great to know what they're all about, since I don't actually get to see them very often. So beyond that, I think that students probably gravitate then to figure out what the course is about. So I've got my syllabus and schedule. I have them separate on this site Most often when I'm teaching an in-person class, I put them in one document. I'm going to start separating them like it is here. Mostly students will not read all the way down to the bottom of this syllabus, where my schedule is, and so I'm just going to ask a lot of questions. Syllabus, friendly for screen readers again. It is the basic template. Again, not a lot to discuss here in terms of learning outcomes, required materials. I always have a book that's required. I do justify the book here. This is kind of a side note on teaching Shakespeare. A lot of students say, well, it's free online. Can't I just read that edition? My answer is kind of no, but it's right there and it explains why. And then I've got some course-specific requirements. I need them to be proficient with Microsoft Word, Google Docs, or similar word processing program. Those tend to be the two students use the most. I need them to be able to open and listen to MP3 files. Almost every student can do that with, this thing, but I want to make sure they can. Videos from YouTube, and then of course they need access to Blackboard. If they're here, they probably have that already. The rest of the policies pretty much come over from my other classes. There are a couple of weaknesses in this document as well. We discussed this format, the grading policy format. For readers, I said it's reader friendly, except that those columns probably are not. So, I'm torn because I like the look of the columns, but I fully understand that a screen reader is going to mess that all up. So probably just one long list. The rest of this participation, those kinds of things. I outline the participation points that they'll receive. Primarily, participation points are tied to their activity in the forums, which is our discussion. And so they can get 15, 10, 5, or 0, depending on how much they participate and the quality of their participation in those areas. The other thing that I really like about these discussion forums is they tend to be low stakes. They're worth 15 points, but students can mess up here. It's okay to mess up and post a question that needs some clarification, kind of have some back and forth, and hopefully we get some of that here. And I relay that to the students in lecture, that it is perfectly okay to post a kind of a half-baked question or a half-baked response, because that's where discussion happens. That's where we learn. Beyond that, college policies, these are required. I have links where necessary. And then, this is the remnant, the schedule that I began that actually continues. I shouldn't show you all my mistakes. I should just pretend that they don't exist. This is the schedule for my classes. It outlines everything that they're going to do each week. There's really nothing here that's special. Instead, I'd much rather talk to you about the assignments for the weeks. And the way that the weeks are set up is, again, once you go into the assignments, orientation is right there again. So in case they've missed it in the first couple of places, they're going to see it when they go right through assignments. And that takes you, I won't open it again, that takes you to the introduction forum and the document that says kind of what to expect in this class. These weeks are set up, or at least they would be set up to appear on the dates that are listed. They wouldn't be, for instance, all available at once. No, still students can't try to plow through all of the material on a weekend or something like that. They will pop up as they become available. Occasionally during a course like this, I will do some maintenance and I'll start moving folders to the top. So the most current week is at the top, and then it just kind of stacks at the bottom for them to find the old material. I never make old folders disappear, but I do make them appear when they need them, not before usually. So the first week, and when I was testing this, the audio started to play automatically. It's doing it again. I don't know why. When they come into the week, I've got instructions for the week. So this provides a little bit more instruction than they'll have by weeks 2, 3, 4, and so on. But in the first week, they can familiarize themselves. I say what we're going to be doing, and then I give them a rundown. So listen to the week 1 lecture, read the pages that I've got there. These are duplicated on the schedule as well. They can post a question in the week 1 form and respond to at least 2 other posts, and then they're going to complete the week 1 prompt. Now, there's not a lot of instruction here because that's all provided elsewhere. This just kind of tells them how to get there. And what I did here for this first thing is I recorded a 2-minute introductory lecture for my students of the kind that I usually record. They tend to be informal. They tend to sound a lot like what I'm doing right now. And they allow the students a little bit of that personal contact. So they get a little bit of my personality. It's not just, hey, I typed up this 2-page thing that I'm going to read to you. I try to make it as informal as possible and yet still contain a lot of content that they need. I also do tell students that sometimes I will quiz or test from these lectures, so it gives them just a little bit of a push to hopefully listen to me. I also add some personal things to this. For instance, if it snows a whole lot, I might talk about the snow for a few minutes. I mostly have taught online courses in the summertime, so I typically say, hey, it's really hot here, so I've got my windows open and they're doing construction across the street. You might hear some of that during this lecture, and I'm sorry, but that's the way it goes. Just to let them know that, you know, I am doing this with them, that this is happening right now. It's not a canned course that I'm just spitting back out. It is very much like a regular course, and I can respond to questions that they have if I see large term issues or a number of questions. I can respond to them through the audio lecture. I like it a lot. Also, it's not video. I don't have to show my face. I don't have to, you know, take a shower or get dressed or anything. I can record an audio lecture pretty much any old time. The week 1 discussion board is here, and I added a discussion just to show something there, so it's not a blank screen. But it's just a discussion question of the kind that we're used to from this class and other classes, and students will post 1 and then answer 2. And one thing that I didn't show you is in the requirements for the class. They usually have to post 1 if it's a 7-day section for a week. They'll have to post 1 by something like Wednesday at 9 p.m. And then they'll have to answer by Saturday at 9 p.m. They'll have to answer 2. And the reason that I went to that is because too many students were waiting until Saturday or Sunday to try to post questions. And so my students who were proactive were getting to Friday and panicking, saying, I don't have anything to respond to. I'm going away this weekend, whatever. So I do this model. I think you asked me about 9 p.m. I go to bed early, so
I mean,
check.
I knew the answer.
Yeah.
I don't usually ask questions I don't know the answer.
Yeah, it was totally selfish. The time is for me, not for them. Midnight works just fine too. I've done that. They after, you know, a little while they're fine. Excuse me, let's go back to the week 1. So they've got the lecture, they've got the discussion, and then they have a prompt. And this is pretty typical of the prompt. The syllabus would explain it better, or I would have a separate assignment sheet that explains the prompt in some detail. But otherwise, it looks like this. 9 p.m. on September 1, compose 250 500-word essay that addresses the following. And then I give them the prompt there. And I tell them what they may use for it. So in this case, I say that they can use our textbook, the Folger Library website, course lecture, week 1 discussion as source material for your answer. So what I do there is I try to let them know sort of what I'm expecting in that way, so they're not going on the internet to get 6 or 7 other sources. They're not using any other books they don't need to. This is what I'm expecting them to use. And that's really the typical week. The other things that I have under assignments, there's a couple weeks I blocked off so we could show them really quickly, is in week 7, they've got a midterm and I've got a test here. It's a really typical midterm kind of exam. I only wrote 1 question for it, but you know, they've got a prompt and they have a text box to answer that prompt. And for this, in this instance, I've got it not locked down very much. They can leave the test, they can come back, their timer continues to run, they can open other tabs, whatever they need to do. If I were concerned about that, I could certainly lock those things down. But I didn't do that here. The other thing, the test. The other thing is in week 6, just showing another typical kind of thing here. I've got the Dropbox for essay 1. I have to stop using this word Dropbox because my students think of Dropbox proper, and I just always think of any place that you submit a file as a Dropbox. And so I've had some student confusion, especially the last couple of semesters about this. But points possible, 1,200 words, tells them how to go about it, and I use SafeAssign for all of my assignments. They just upload a file, usually ask for one of these first couple of things rather than anything else. All right, and then if they at any point want to go back in discussions, they can see all of the discussions here. Those are all always available to them if they want to get there that way. Grades are there. The instructor information, there I am. without a picture, but there I am. And then resources. For a class like this and for other classes, especially since I teach English, I use a couple of resources. Where's my other one that I just added? It's gone. Okay, I added one over there that's not here, but I'll talk about it anyway. So I've got some online sources to help with reading Shakespeare, because that's a problem for a lot of folks. Oh, they're there. And then I also include for Shakespeare free audio editions of all of the plays, because a lot of my students find Shakespeare's language to be difficult. So I tell them, listen along while you do that. And so YouTube's a great source for that. I can pull that in pretty easily. And then finally, because I teach in the English department, MLA is always a thing. Nobody does MLA online better than Purdue OWL, so I link right to Purdue OWL. It saves them the trouble of having to buy a style book or memorize a lot of things. Purdue just does a really nice job, and so there's no reason for me to duplicate it in any way. It's all here. If anybody has any questions about it, they can access it pretty easily there. And so anyway, this combination between the audio lectures, which I think tries to foster a little bit of a sense of community, low stakes assignments like discussion combined with kind of, I guess we call them medium stakes assignments where they do a weekly response, and high stakes assignments with formal essays, midterms, and exams, hopefully emulates that in-person kind of class while still getting to all of the learning outcomes that we need to get to for the course itself. And so, I think that's it. I don't think that I have anything else to cover here. So yeah, like I said, that was in-depth as yours.
No, but it's great.
All right.
I learned a ton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. How?
Well, thank you.